he was right not to listen to me because he's in the quarterfinals and I'm not.
Yeah, of course, 𝗬𝗺𝗺's such a good Temtem. We saw it from Fri's side the other tournament. But here we go. As we said, these guys have been playing Temtem for quite some time. And oh, I'm seeing a little bit why he's found a lot of success. A lot of people putting those win Temtems to the wayside, but no, 𝗬𝗺's bringing out the double bird here. So 2 con, 2 rock, and a 𝗬𝗵𝗶 as well. Not too many 𝗬𝗵𝗶s, I want to say, in top cut. So I'm happy to see it here doing so well in the 6-0 team that 𝗬𝗺's brought to the table. So good stuff. And it looks like 𝗬𝗃 being feared by everyone. So 𝗬𝗵𝗺 not having none of that does get the first ban. Let's see what 𝗬𝗺's wants to start us off with.
He was looking at that 𝗬𝗵𝗶, and I'm curious if 𝗬𝗺's is running something a little bit more specialized on 𝗬𝗵𝗶, as you know, the stats don't necessarily give it a lot of room to breathe with the jack of all trades that it tries to be with that trait that it has, allowing it to switch its typing based on the type of attack it uses. It kind of leaves a lot of people vulnerable to take damage that they otherwise wouldn't be. But I mean, 𝗬𝗺's going 6-0 in the Swiss. He definitely knows how to use that 𝗬𝗵𝗶, unlike anybody else today, and potentially could have something spicy planned for us. I mean, you wouldn't mouse over it at the beginning if you weren't thinking about it, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it. I think it was that turn 1 E-punch as well. I mean, effective into 𝗬𝗺, decent against the Cycrocs, decent against... Oh, actually, I think it was revealed to be an iridescent, so maybe not too strong. Which is why maybe he decided against it. But all right, 𝗂𝗵𝗵, he was an MVP in the 𝗬𝗵𝗴 meta, and he's still an MVP here today, getting insta pick for both of these guys. 𝗬𝗵𝗺 with the orange side, looking to pair it up with something else, eyeing that 𝗬𝗃, and maybe forcing 𝗬𝗺's to pick up that 2 con or 2 rock if he does so. But no, aggression is the name of the game for 𝗬𝗵𝗺 here. 𝗬𝗺 starting us off.
I really do like this 𝗬𝗺 pick. Even though it's staring down a plague on turn 1, this pressures out everything on 𝗬𝗺's side. I mean, Kiinu is really the only safe option, as well as Yowler would be a little bit of neutral damage, but that's still going to take so much without any early Kiinu buffs. So it kind of forces 𝗬𝗺's hand into this double nature lead, which, depending on 𝗬𝗵𝗺's builds here, this 𝗂𝗵𝗵 on 𝗬𝗵𝗺's side is a little bit more tanky since he is playing more of that Doom or half Doom team. It certainly could go in 𝗬𝗵𝗺's favor.
Yeah, well said. I was almost curious, was it going to be a mirror matchup, 𝗬𝗺, but no, the Kiinu, as you mentioned, able to eat up those plagues and the water techniques from these Temtems very, very well. If it does want to stay on the board, it doesn't look to be doing too much. But as you mentioned, there's not really anything in the back line that wants to swap into both of these Temtems. So great pickup for 𝗬𝗵𝗺, as you mentioned. I mean, just a quadra whirlwind alone, effective into 2 rock 𝗬𝗵𝗶 and 2 con. And now with the Yowler getting banned, forcing, you know, running out of really good pivot swaps for that 𝗬𝗺, it's almost going to leave it on the 𝗬𝗺 taking that damage too. So yeah, really good bans for the side of 𝗬𝗵𝗺. What does 𝗬𝗺's want to ban against 𝗬𝗵𝗺 now?
Yeah, I mean, this second ban now, really, you've got to be looking at one of the Doomers. I would imagine you've got to get rid of DigiThreat. I think... Oh, no, 𝗬𝗃 as well. I mean, I guess 𝗬𝗃 is definitely still understandable. It hurts Kiinu. It does quite a lot to 𝗂𝗵𝗵 without being countered at all. And, you know, doesn't really mind fighting anybody here except for those win Tems.
Yeah, I was about to say that. So, I mean, he has double win for that 𝗬𝗃, but still respecting it. I mean, able to eat up so much damage, as you said, from the 𝗂𝗵𝗺, from the 𝗬𝗺. So I could definitely see that. But I like what you said, though, too, Rawrzyyy. Those DigiThreat users and one mental Temtem getting paired up in the team already. So 𝗬𝗺 has to be careful. I don't think he has too many ways of removing Doom. Of course, there's a Hypno from the Kiinu, Bush from the 𝗂𝗵𝗺. But the other guys, I'm not too sure. Maybe 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏. I'm not sure if you could target your ally with that technique, but that adds 2 status conditions potentially.
Yeah, it's definitely... 𝗬𝗵𝗺 almost had a counter team into this, unfortunately for 𝗬𝗺, as he did so well earlier on. and he's certainly not out of it just from a pick ban. We've watched players like 𝗂𝗵𝗶, we've watched players like Ricky. We know that anything can change at any moment in the match. But definitely in the pick bans, 𝗬𝗶's looking really good here. This lead almost looks like it's untouchable. If he's able to do the damage early and not lose 𝗬𝗃𝗃 to 𝗬𝗺𝗃 𝗵𝗃, then 𝗬𝗃 is looking so good.
Yeah, we'll see. It is going to be game number 1 of our quarterfinals. 𝗬𝗺, number 1 seed, going undefeated. 𝗬𝗃, not really much of an underdog, but in this situation is coming in at number 8. Well, let's see. Rawrzyyy does have a good point. Not a lot of things resist that double up from 𝗬𝗃's side. And I mean, 𝗵𝗃 is at +1 special defense, so able to hold on a bit better. And he does have a heavy hitting plague on 𝗬𝗺 the 𝗬𝗃𝗃. So maybe 𝗬𝗺 is not in the worst position. You know, maybe just 𝗬𝗃 stays in because there's not really a great swap. And just double into 𝗬𝗃𝗃 doesn't feel all that bad. And then guarantee the plague to kill the following turn. But we'll see.
I feel like this is just a really safe swap for 𝗬𝗃 into a couple of different options, though. Either 𝗬𝗃 or Cycrox are both feeling pretty good. Cycrox, of course, would give digital towards 𝗬𝗃, or toxic onto both spots would do quite a bit with the wastewater. And yeah, 𝗂𝗧, 𝗬𝗃𝗃 does swap out. It is for the 𝗬𝗃, wants to give a buff on 𝗵𝗃 and 𝗃, match what 𝗬𝗺 was leading with. And now it's really just all up to these plagues. Who is built to do more damage? Of course, 𝗬𝗺 targets down the 𝗬𝗃, just hoping and praying that 𝗬𝗃𝗃 stays in, but it isn't so today, as plague back onto 𝗵𝗃 only does about 19%, so certainly 𝗬𝗺 is not out of it from that damage. He's able to survive quite a few of those. Beta Burst as well onto the opposing 𝗬𝗃. So into turn 1, I would say 𝗬𝗺 actually came out ahead of there.
Yeah, not too bad. So it decided he did want to gun down that 𝗬𝗃𝗃 in case it stayed in. But beautiful swap for 𝗬𝗃, does get all that damage onto the 𝗬𝗃 instead. And yeah, 𝗬𝗃 just trapping in the 𝗵𝗃. Not able to do too much damage. As you said, it was about 19% on that 𝗵𝗃. But hey, little by little, you do got to start whittling away. I mean, 𝗵𝗃 is such a good Temtem into a lot of 𝗬𝗃's team, right? It does good damage in the 𝗂𝗧. It does Vortex Sandstorm into the 𝗬𝗃2 in the back line. And just neutral about into everything else as well. So we'll see. I mean, everything's now online for both these sides, but no attacks are really effective. So this is going to be interesting how each tamer tries to get the upper edge. I mean, 𝗬𝗃 could swap out. 𝗬𝗺 can't swap out that 𝗵𝗃. So maybe his play has to be a bit more straightforward.
Yeah, a couple swaps coming in. 𝗬𝗃 on 𝗬𝗃's side and Tolkien coming in for 𝗬𝗺. Get going with this tornado. Try to get yourself a fire tornado soon. And the burn is going to be pretty effective as well, reducing the attack of this Kitsune just a little bit more. Plague as well means that the stamina battle is being won by 𝗬𝗺 due to the speedier 𝗵𝗃, as now the exhaustion hits Kitsune and not quite on 𝗵𝗃, so still not too much damage dealt. But I do like what 𝗬𝗺 is starting to mount here, getting these holds available for Tolkien as he can. Although, with a slight risk right now with the DV, but 𝗬𝗺 doesn't want to worry about that.
Yeah, of course, and we did see a DV was what took out one of the Swiss round players. I mean, easily not over 100%, of course, but definitely something like 30-40%. 𝗵𝗃 does pack a punch. I'm a little bit scared for 𝗬𝗺's Toucan here. If 𝗬𝗃 wants to go for a plague, trap in that Toucan, I believe that Dust Tornado the following turn might be big damage. Of course, maybe 𝗬𝗃 wants to swap into 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃, but with that 𝗵𝗃 still on the board, I don't think that would be too ideal. So this is going to be interesting. I believe 𝗬𝗃2 came in on the swap, and then it was just that one turn. Oh, no. Yeah, Bush not online just yet. It's just Burrow.
I gotta say, it would make me so happy if 𝗬𝗃, who was holding Slingshot at the moment. I think that we saw earlier a hacked microchip on an 𝗬𝗃. I'm not sure if that was 𝗬𝗃's or not, but a Slingshot, Electric Storm would make me so happy. Get that proc off of 𝗵𝗃 and do quite a bit of damage onto Tolkien if it decided to stay.
Wait, Rawrzyyy, I believe your wish might be coming true. I believe the last one we saw was named 𝗬𝗺𝗃, and the only 𝗬𝗃2 we see named 𝗬𝗺𝗃 is going to be 𝗬𝗃's. So let's take a look if it does indeed have that. Oh, there it is, Rawrzyyy. Tesla prison, 1/4 damage. And yes, I knew we saw it from before. Slingshot does come out, so buffing up +1/+1/+1 on that Obi there.
Oh, that is incredible. The DV is going to hurt 𝗧𝗵𝗵 just a little bit, but I think that was still a moral victory, just getting the slingshot proc.
Yeah, and remember, Talara's 𝗬𝗶𝗴 was faster, so that -1 speed might be going a long way by the end of the road. Now, 𝗬𝗵𝗵's 𝗬𝗶𝗴 most likely faster. I know it's only a 20% decrease, but they had to be close. Talara's probably wasn't outspeeding by all that much, so that -1 speed might be coming in clutch down the road. We'll pay attention if it does. But the DV still doing over 50% on that OB2. So he can't take another one. But good thing it's not online and 𝗬𝗶𝗴's running out of stamina. But wow, 𝗬𝗶𝗴 stayed in. So the secondary slingshot proc. All right.
That just makes me so happy. We used to see that more so from the little cup players using a lot of slingshots, but seeing it come to some of these electric Tems now, since 𝗬𝗶𝗴 is still so pragmatic, it's definitely fun to see. Hypnosis onto 𝗧𝗵𝗵 though, that's going to be impactful for these next few turns, as he's not able to get more slingshot procs. That means potentially DV could be doing even more damage.
Yeah, and of course, he rested on the 𝗬𝗶𝗴 on Talara's side, so DV is back online. So yeah, I mean, but now it's at +2 special defense, so it did about 53.6% the first time. So probably wouldn't get the kill the second time, but of course that Kinu in the back line could easily come in, buff up the Kitsune one more time. And these guys have a similar ideology, just trying to buff up that 𝗬𝗶𝗴. And no, it's gonna be the Cycrocs coming in. All right, we might get some Doom shenanigans down this road.
Yeah, that is definitely what 𝗬𝗵𝗵 wants to try and accomplish. If he's able to doom some of the Tems, maybe not 𝗬𝗶𝗴 with the bush, but pretty much anybody else on the Kinu side or beyond would be pretty solid. A Revitalize though onto 𝗬𝗶𝗴 with the nature synergy means Kinu gets a little top up as well. This is still looking really good for Talaris. I don't know. He's done a fantastic job of negating the really strong 𝗬𝗵𝗵 lead and just turning it into this system of not taking too much damage, getting quite a few Kinu buffs on this 𝗬𝗶𝗴, and really just dealing damage back. I mean, both Kinu and 𝗧𝗵𝗵 the Obi are down by 45%.
Yeah, exactly. And now with that Revitalize, for sure, the nature synergized Revitalize now making that differential even greater. So 2 Temtems down about 40-50%. So yeah, Talaris, we're seeing here, very, very sharp player. Not missing a beat so far. I think he's been playing great, but 𝗬𝗵𝗵 already is trying to set up with that Digi threat. But as you said, you can't really do it on the 𝗬𝗶𝗴 because of that bush. So I guess he's looking at the left-hand side. But I think he's just better off throwing a big old wastewater on that side rather than a Digi. I mean, it is both effective, so we'll see.
Yeah, Tolkien swaps in for Revitalize on itself on this Kinu. Definitely not going to be very happy, though, as this is the second time Tolkien has swapped in on a turn, which means Fire Tornado is available next turn. There's Plague as well on the Cycrocs with the Digi threat. It is the Doom. 2 more turns on Tolkien already. I mean, it's good. It gets to use the Tornado this turn if it wants to on a trapped in Cycrocs. But beyond that, we might not get to see Talaris' Tolkien use Fire Tornado at all.
Yeah, I mean, it would be online right now, right? So it technically has it, but I think Tornado's looking so good. Cycrocs is trapped in. So if there's any time to do a 1-2 punch on that Cycrocs, aka the Doom threat, of course, the 𝗧𝗵𝗵 in the back line has a Digi threat as well. But Cycrocs a bit more deadly, I want to say, into the likes of 𝗬𝗃𝗃. So yeah, this is a good time. The 𝗬𝗃 trapping the Cycrocs, and that's just why handcuff 𝗬𝗃 has been meta for so long. I can't even remember. Of course, there are some 𝗬𝗃s that go without the handcuff, but it's just been a staple for many months to come, and really not looking to go anywhere. The Plague plus the handcuff, it's a really good wombo combo.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the teams, though. I think, was it Tsubaki earlier that we saw with a sweatband 𝗬𝗃?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Ooh, okay, so Hypnosis onto 𝗬𝗵, making sure he's not able to do any damage this turn, not switch his typing, not get any heat ups off. And Tolkien only with the Wind Burst, one more turn left to live. He's got to use his Tornado this time on Cycrox and pray that it's enough damage, or else Digi-Threat might be coming for 𝗬𝗵 as well.
Yeah, and that was a good Hypnosis. Whatever came in on that spot or that -2 speed Wolfie was gonna get slept regardless. But you know, with the Windburst doing a little bit over 40%, I'm not too sure the Tornado is gonna be enough, especially with that +1 special defense. But let's take a look. So Wolfie coming back out in case the E-Punch comes in, so you have that Earth for the electric. So 57.7, not enough, surviving by 10% here.
Yeah, the saving grace here. Now the Digi-Threat's going to do damage but not trigger any doom, as the Kinu did swap out, and Reactive Vial means 𝗬𝗵 is actually feeling pretty good to go against at least the Digi-Threats. There is there is a little bit that Kitsune can do though, regardless of any nullification.
Yeah, Wolfie always a great deal of damage, but I kind of like it. The Reactive Vial on the 𝗬𝗵. A lot of Temtems are strong against 𝗬𝗵, electric, water, and then when it gets to secondary typing, it has some more weaknesses. So yeah, the Reactive Vial, we haven't seen it on a 𝗬𝗵 just yet, but I'm loving it. You get the little recovery and just the nullification for 2 turns, and now Talaris making it a little bit more bulky. +1 defense, +1 special defense. What does he have in store for us here? I don't believe he has anything effective into the Wolfie, however, right? Maybe just neutral wastewater, perhaps?
Yeah, I think Wastewater would be the most common used technique that would be neutral damage into Wolfie. Otherwise, though, this might just be a Cyber Claw into Cycrox kind of a turn. Try to do the damage before Cycrox could, you know, potentially attack again. You know, a little bit of Plague in here. Hypnosis as well, so not outspeeding this this Wolfie with all of that priority. And the Wastewater onto Cycrox, expecting a swap and not getting his way. Cycrox with the quarter assist. That is so rough. Cycrox surviving.
Yeah, it looks like Talaris is trying to make the 5-head read, potentially into the 𝗂𝗂𝗺 to get that Aquatic Whirlwind or 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗺's Wrath online. But no, 𝗬𝗵 having none of that. I think it was fair though. I mean, Cycrox is as good as dead. So I think that was just 𝗬𝗵 ready to let Cycrox go. Unless Talaris preferred that the Cycrox stayed in here. Maybe it was just a little attack to... No, he was trying to gun down either Kinu or the 𝗬𝗺. That was the Wastewater there. So hey, good recognition for 𝗬𝗵, but the Beta Burst should be enough. So Cycrox does finally go down.
I feel like that still worked out decently, as the Toxic typing is a little bit more resistant to anything that Kitsune the Wolfie is able to throw down. It's not going to be nullified, so anything from 𝗬𝗺 is still going to do quite a lot of neutral damage as far as the Toxic typing remains. But I'm not sure. I think 𝗬𝗵 with the Toxic typing is definitely better than with, Fire or straight Digital if he had used Heat Up or Cyber Claw.
Yeah, and hey, you can barely tell with the Toxic typing, he has that black overlay on him. Looking cool though, looking sharp. But now the Wastewater still online, but he's running out of stamina. Only 18.5 left. That's a big overexertion if he wants to do so. But 𝗬𝗵 is trapped in, so maybe you just gotta go out swinging. He's at -1 speed. Does a double up take him down? Aquatic Whirlwind plus a Plague. It might be kind of close.
Yeah, I think 𝗬𝗵 doesn't have the best defenses in the world, so even with this Kinu buff, it might not be enough to survive. The DB from 49.7 down to 26, and a Blizzard taking the effective damage, tossing it in 𝗬𝗵's face and knocking him out before he can do any damage.
That is huge. It looked like the 𝗬𝗵 went for an E-Punch, of course, that one prio, and making it matters worse at that -1 speed, not being able to pull the trigger. That E-Punch would have been huge. Obviously, 𝗂𝗂𝗺 the 𝗬𝗺 would have gone down, but the turn 1 Blizzard, or the 1 prio Blizzard outspeeding the 1 prio E-Punch, and does get the kill, as you said, effective into the Toxic of 𝗬𝗵. So well done. 𝗬𝗵 able to eliminate 2 threats from Talaris, and Talaris only able to take down the Cycrox so far. But with this 𝗬𝗵𝗶 now hitting the board, let's see if he's able to apply some pressure back on this 𝗬𝗵𝗃𝗃. Or hey, it's a mirror match here.
Yeah, Aquatic Whirlwind pretty immediately targeting down 𝗬𝗵𝗃 from 68 to 42. Pretty big hits on the 𝗧𝗪s, and yeah, the 𝗬𝗵𝗃 on 𝗬𝗵 side outspeeding after all of those 𝗬𝗪 prisons we saw earlier. Means that now the exhaustion battle is definitely in favor of 𝗬𝗪, but the plague onto 𝗂𝒑𝒑 the 𝗬𝗃𝗃 is enough to knock it down.
Yeah, so now it just goes down to 𝗬𝗪's 𝗬𝗵𝗃 to try to do the most damage it can onto the opposing 𝗬𝗵𝗃. And yeah, just making matters worse, buffing up 𝗬𝗪's 𝗬𝗵𝗃 with another one, making it +3, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Let's take a look. But both, oh no, +2, okay. Okay, it's +2 versus +2, but 𝗧𝗪s is -2 speed, so that is a 34% reduction with the new speed changes.
And 𝗧𝗪 is saying, you know, 𝗬𝗪, I like that board state you've got over there. You mind if I borrow it? Swaps in Kinu for 𝗬𝗃𝗃 as well, giving this plague towards 𝗬𝗵𝗃. Yeah, 𝗬𝗪 not making that mistake, not falling for it and attacking the 𝗬𝗃𝗃. Instead, getting the plague damage, getting the revitalized synergy, and just eating 𝗧𝗪s for breakfast as the bush is too little too late and looks like it overexerted due to the exhaustion.
Yeah, you know, those 𝗬𝗪 prisons really paying dividends here. We saw 𝗧𝗪's 𝗬𝗵𝗃 was indeed the faster 𝗬𝗵𝗃, but at -2 speed, thanks to those little slingshot 𝗬𝗪 prisons coming out from 𝗬𝗃 the OB2, now this 𝗬𝗵𝗃 is no longer faster. I think 𝗧𝗪s wants to get off a revitalized. Let's see if it's fast enough to do so. 𝗬𝗪, the beta burst flies, and 𝗬𝗵𝗃 on 𝗧𝗪's side does go down, and Kinu failing the revitalize. I was a little bit scared for that. So 𝗧𝗪s is on the ropes. Final 2 Temtems remain to his name, and one player has a 𝗬𝗵𝗃 and some digital pressure. The other player gonna be on the receiving end, though. I mean, one saving grace is that 𝗬𝗪's 𝗬𝗵𝗃 did overexert, so is there a little wiggle room here? Hypno the 𝗬𝗵𝗃. Oh man, this is looking bad.
Oh yeah, just taking advantage. 𝗬𝗪, he says, you didn't revitalize last turn. You tried to, but I'll do it this time, I promise. Hypnosis onto Kitsune, followed by the Blizzard towards this Kinu. That does pretty decent damage, actually. A little bit more than I was expecting. And now it's still a pretty tough situation for 𝗧𝗪s. 𝗬𝗃𝗃 is definitely a strong Tem, a lot of capability. But with the water typing against so many Tems that are effective damage, I just don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, let's take a look. 50%, and man, still doing about half of that remaining HP, but the sacrifice of waking up 𝗬𝗵𝗃 and maybe able to get off a plague onto this 𝗬𝗃𝗃. Let's see how much damage it might be able to take away, and it does, waking it up. And yeah, right around under 70%. So I believe 𝗬𝗪 looking very strong. Now with 2 Temtems effective into the Temtems remaining on 𝗧𝗪's side, 𝗬𝗪 played this beautifully. So did 𝗧𝗪s, but coming out a bit ahead is 𝗬𝗪 with that +4/+4 𝗬𝗵𝗃. There is nothing taking that 𝗧𝗵𝗃 user down.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, you said it, the +4/+4, it's so difficult after that sacrifice. I'm curious if the turn that 𝗧𝗪s used Hypnosis onto that 𝗬𝗵𝗃, if it would have been better to just take advantage of the Fox's overexertion turn and just try to do some damage to it, potentially kill it on like the 3rd turn. Is really Kinu wouldn't be doing too much with the beta bursts, and as we saw, it was focusing a little bit more on Revitalize for the time being.
Yeah, we have to think back a little bit, but 𝗧𝗪 is saying there is no hope in that very first game, so 𝗬𝗪, a little bit of that underdog story, does get the victory against that #1 seed 𝗧𝗪, so team up in our quarterfinals, making it 1 game away from heading into the semifinals. So can he get it done? I mean, we are talking about the #1 seed in this bracket. I mean, 𝗧𝗪 not to be messed with or underestimated. So let's see if he could bring things back and potentially make it a game 3 situation. If not, maybe 𝗬𝗪 a little bit too strong. Let's see though. 2nd game of our quarterfinals. I believe it was a 𝗵𝗂𝗍 Yowler ban on the side of Talaris, and then it was a Nagai's Nidrasil ban on the side of 𝗬𝗏. So we'll see if anything switches up here.
I think Talaris still probably has to first ban Naga. There's the potential that Turok could make it work. You know, early on, a Nox Bomb does quite a lot of damage. If 𝗬𝗏 were to, you know, quote unquote, make the mistake of using Madness buff, then I think Nox Bomb Stoneball is usually enough to kill it. But that's, you know, a lot of ifs and buts and, you know, not too much realistic play there. So I understand that the Naga ban makes a lot of sense for Talaris, as well as 𝗵𝗂𝗍. That banning 𝗵𝗂𝗍 just protects all of these nature Tems, as well as, honestly, the 𝗂𝗀𝗏 a little bit. I think it is iridescence, as you had mentioned, but that means it takes quite a bit more from uppercuts and P-jabs.
Exactly.
You know, as well as surviving any of that damage from 𝗬𝗓𝗏, which Talaris really doesn't have much to survive 𝗬𝗓𝗏.
You know, the only answer I see for Nagai's, I don't see any electric conductors, or what is it called? Electric...
Custodian.
What was it?
Electric Custodian?
Yeah, that's what it was. Electric Custodian, of course. So, you know, the 𝗧𝗵𝗵 Electric Punch could have been a good answer, but that's just a little susceptible to just swapping out the Nagai's. So, hey, yeah, better to ban it. You have the Yowler 𝗵𝗂𝗍 that takes big damage, and Nagai's Fury goes really big into Toucan and the Turok as well. So, 𝗬𝗏 starting off with the exact same lineup that ended up winning him game 1. How does Talaris want to switch it up? His last pick was the Kinu. He's eyeing the Yowler, but he might be in for some big damage if he picks it up. I mean, this is just the strength of that opening 𝗬𝗏 starting with.
Yeah, I think Yowler is a good start. I think getting a little bit more damage potential in for Talaris will be good. And I especially think if, you know, even the turn 1 comeback or clinch is pretty decent. But a show-off, you know, potential comeback or Oshi-Dashi might be enough to bring 𝗬𝗏 down right away before any Kinu buffs, or I'm sorry, Kinu took the ban, before any Stonewalls or Bark Shields. Yeah, there's some Bark Shields in there. Before any buffs come 𝗬𝗏's way.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, so let's think about it for 𝗬𝗏. If he wants to gun down the Yowler, Aquatic Whirlwind Plague. I don't remember if Talaris had a Chamomile Yowler. We haven't been able to see it. So that would take it down pretty low, maybe over that 50% mark. So something like that, turn 2 Serbashio's Wrath plus a Dust Vortex may be enough to take it down. And Yowler would be the slowest of the bunch in that opening turn. But yeah, I think you're right. If 𝗬𝗏 wants to read like 𝗬𝗓𝗏 swapping out, Plague into the 𝗬𝗏, trapping the 𝗬𝗏 for the Oshi-Dashi turn 2. But I have a feeling since 𝗬𝗏 has so much damage potential, I don't think this is 𝗬𝗓𝗏's going anywhere. So maybe Talaris redirects that Plague. Instead of trying to trap the 𝗬𝗏, maybe just some big damage on 𝗬𝗓𝗏. But I mean, the mind games are real all the time, especially in this high intense situation. So let's see what these guys do. 𝗏𝗏zy, what are you thinking? Plague into which slot tier?
You know, it's really tough on both sides. I think if 𝗬𝗏 were to go aggressive, there's not too much that Yowler can do about it. I think that's kind of the best way to fight a Yowler in the early game, is to just double in with a lot of heavy damage and try to kill it before it's able to do anything. You know, turn 1, a lot of people will click show off, which means they're not taking advantage of comebacker. And Yowler's slow speed means that even with all of that bulk, if you're able to target that 4, maybe 5, 6 attacks, it'll still go down. So I'm wondering if 𝗬𝗏 wants to stay aggressive and go for that line of play. He does in fact stay in, takes this Plague onto 𝗂𝗏 the 𝗬𝗓𝗏 like a champion, might add. The Plague as well from 𝗬𝗏, targeting down Yowler, does about 20%. And now it's really up to this 𝗂𝗏. We got to see how much damage this is able to accomplish. He goes for the Blizzard, taking advantage of that Hurry Wart, down to 58%, potentially playing in for a swap there as well. That means 𝗬𝗓𝗏 does still have Aquatic Whirlwind available, and Yowler is not looking too happy.
Yeah, of course, without a Kinu buff, I believe that Aquatic Whirlwind plus a Dust Vortex should be enough. The question is, I mean, 𝗬𝗓𝗏, one of the fastest Temtem in the game, I'm pretty sure it's going to be able to outspeed Talaris' 3 Prio Plague as well. So hey, this might be an even trade. Yowler going down, 𝗏𝗊𝗍𝗍 going down. And yeah, you know, I agreed with you early on. 𝗬𝗏 had the pressure, so might as well apply the pressure. I think swapping out that 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗧 early game, yeah, you could have eaten the Plague very well with something like Ninja Silk, but you give away that tempo, especially with the turn 1 show off. You know, I was almost scared for 𝗬𝗏 if Talaris went for that clinch. If he indeed had a clinch, right? Probably only has show off. That 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗧 would have been out of here in that opening turn, and there wouldn't have been any Aquatic Whirlwind. But I believe he's not running clinch. A lot of Yowler's not running clinch.
I think even if something like that had happened and 𝗏𝗊𝗍𝗍 the 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗧 fell down right away, there's still a mental equation in the back that would have been able to take Yowler down while it was still trapped. Although everyone does stay in. Aquatic Whirlwind onto Yowler does so much damage. Plague finishing off 𝗏𝗊𝗍. Poor gal. And the DV, of course. I mean, this Yowler is just not going to survive. There's no way, no how a DV is too much damage.
Exactly right. So beautiful stuff. Turn 2, both Temtems going down, and some of the carry potentials, right? 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗧 was the sweatband user. We didn't get to see Yowler's item. Maybe a matcha. We saw Cycrox 𝗬𝗏 with the matcha, so maybe it was a Yowler with the matcha this time. But man, look at the back line. 𝗧𝗏𝗵 would have taken big damage from the 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗧. Same with the Toucan. And Yowler, he just dishes out the pain wherever he connects. So just good trades all around. And without Kinu, everything's going to be a lot less bulkier. So let's see what these guys want to bring in. What is going to be the effective damage into each other's 𝗬𝗏𝗶?
I'm curious if they even want to worry about that at the moment. For Talaris, as long as he can trap one of these Tems in, he can confirm that there won't be a mental to come in and give this digi-threat synergy, and can avoid taking the Doom onto Tolkien like he did prior. You know, just make sure that Kitsune is not allowed to leave this field. And it's a little bit scary considering DVs and Sandstorms hurt Tolkien pretty well. But I wonder if it would be worth it just to confirm that there won't be any Doom shenanigans.
Yeah, so you're saying plaguing the Hatsu spot, right? Or to prevent the 𝗂𝗀𝗃 from coming in, plague the 𝗬𝗏𝗶. And hey, speaking of the mental 𝗂𝗀𝗃, maybe coming in this turn. Yes, it does. So Digi-Threat was online. Is there a way of protecting? No, of course, a little slingshot value for the road. So +1/+1/+1 coming in. Defense speed, special defense. The Whimpers, nice connection onto the 𝗂𝗀𝗃.
Followed up by the DV on the Hatsu, does just shy of 50%. Thanks to the Doom, it does more though. That was enough that, you know, not this coming turn, but the following one, another DV would be enough to bring Hatsu down. But in the meantime, that means someone might be afraid. If Tolkien, his Tornado has got to go first, and it's got to bring this this mental 𝗂𝗀𝗃 down, or else that Doom will be coming through on the Tolkien.
Yeah, and of course, the 𝗂𝗀𝗃 was able to snare that Wind Fan on Tolkien, so maybe that connection is going to be a little bit less. Unless it snared... No, I think it snares afterwards, so let's see. Tornado might be really close. Something's telling me that 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗧 might be... Or not 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗧. The 𝗂𝗀𝗃 might be surviving by really little. Here we go. Tornado, 55%. And it is enough. All right. So no Digi-Threat today. It looks like Talaris getting a good momentum lead.
Yeah, no Dooms. That's definitely a good... it's a good start. It's certainly not enough to finish things off. Tolkien losing a little bit of speed. It hurts even more than Hatsu is +1 speed. So that means now Hatsu might be able to bring Tolkien down before it's able to do the damage, before a Fire Tornado is going to hurt anybody here. Because I'm wondering if, even though a Plague is half damage onto the Fire Tem, if you double in with Electric Storm and Plague, would that be enough?
Yeah, I feel like that would be a beautiful line of play. We're going to see Aquatic Whirlwind is enough to take down that +1 special defense. Hatsu, 46. Oh, of course, the double damage. For some reason, I thought it was a resistant, but yes, more than enough. But the Plague... It looks like Talaris 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗧 a bit bulkier than how 𝗬𝗏𝗃 had it there. So it's still going to take 2 Plagues to take it down. And the Fire Tornado in this matchup does indeed fly out. So 94. not even 50%. So this 𝗬𝗶𝗴 on the side of 𝗬𝗵𝗵, very, very bulky considering it has no 𝗬𝗫 buffs.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's actually the 𝗬𝗫𝗵𝗶 is a little bit bulkier for Talaris, or if it's just that Kitsune is not built to be that aggro attacker like 𝗬𝗵𝗵 is on Talaris' side. If Kitsune is, you know, trying to survive more and play with its doomers a little bit more, then it would make sense for less special attack, a little bit less speed, and more special defense, more physical defense to try and make up for some of those, I guess, turns where you're not able to do the damage because you're waiting for the doom clock to tick down.
And here we go, 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗫's Wrath, not looking to do all that much damage. More importantly, he gets +1 special attack, but not really able to take advantage of that because 𝗬𝗵𝗵, wait a second, he didn't plague the 𝗬𝗫𝗵𝗺. Okay. I was about to say Toxic Ink. I just for some reason thought 𝗬𝗪 came in on the swap, but no, the Toxic Ink does take it down, so not too bad. Not letting another aquatic whirlwind fly out, but 𝗬𝗵𝗵, final 2 Temtems remaining. Let's see. 𝗧𝗵𝗵, not too effective, but just some good physical pressure. And with that Toucan in the back, he just really has to worry about this 𝗬𝗵𝗵. And Toucan alone, a Wind Burst Tornado will end off that 𝗬𝗪. And 𝗬𝗵𝗵 does concede. Already in. It is game number 3 of the quarterfinals.
And so far, these pick bans have been going the same way. There's not too much that they can really afford to change. I think that both teams kind of have a little bit too much to counter the other early on. So it's really looking like the same. And Talaris deciding to go with Yowler again, even after the demise that it felt in game 1 without really accomplishing too much. He liked the momentum that he gained after the fact, taking down 𝗬𝗫𝗵𝗺, and only after sacrifice a Yowler to do it. Talaris says, sign me up, I'll do it again.
Yeah, not too bad. As the orange side, it looks to be the best position he can get. But now 𝗬𝗵𝗵 not going to 𝗬𝗫𝗵𝗺, and man, that was the fastest ban we've ever seen. As soon as the 𝗬𝗫𝗵𝗺 wasn't picked up, he went for the immediate ban, leaving the Kinu in the team there. So we'll see. I mean, Talaris seems so ecstatic about getting able to ban 𝗬𝗫𝗵𝗺, but looks like the Toucan, that was going to be the win condition to take down that 𝗬𝗪 at the end, does get the ban. All right, so hey, Kinu does come on for both teams. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of a longer game with those Kinu buffs.
Yeah, I mean, losing Tolkien is a little bit rough, but thankfully Turok is still here. It is still really strong Feather Gatlings. And, you know, it'll get the job done. Just take a bit of damage from allergic spreads in the meantime.
Yeah, as well as the potential plagues. But as you said, it Turok coming in. And I'm trying to think, turn 1 mental would only be like mental stream, right? Is that a technique? Like mental stream coming into the Yowler's direction, perhaps? No,
he does get a stronger turn 1 attack. For some reason, the name of it is actually escaping me. But he does have a very strong turn 1 mental attack with no holds.
All right. So we'll see. Oh, the Matter Teleport. Yeah, I remember that as well, Rawrzyyy. Yeah, Matter Teleport looking quite handy here. So much so that maybe Yowler has to swap out, but no, everything's staying in. And this turn, since 𝗬𝗫𝗵𝗺 isn't here, he traps in the 𝗬𝗵𝗵 for a potential 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗍𝗍. And oh, 𝗬𝗵𝗵 thinking the exact same thing, but wait, this leaves the Yowler being able to survive after the second turn.
Potentially, we'll see what this Matter Teleport's able to do. The beautiful animation, it's so much damage. All the way down to 40%, and he still goes for the show off. Talaris maybe expecting that to do a little bit less damage, survive above 50%.
Yeah, and as you said it, beautiful. That was actually my first time ever seeing it, and quite psychedelic indeed. A little bit of a, I mean, no better way of saying it, a little psychedelic trip Yowler taken. And you're exactly right, 60% out the window, so easy. Boys should be able to outspeed this Yowler, so Talaris having to swap out this Yowler unless he just wants to let it go to preserve some of the backline Tems, but I feel like a Kinu might be coming in to preserve that 𝗬𝗵𝗵 HP a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, this was a little bit more troublesome for Talaris, I think, early on. This Yowler going down without getting any kind of trade. Oh no, 𝗬𝗵𝗵 swaps out. He brings 𝗧𝗵𝗃 and instead try to protect 𝗬𝗵𝗶 a little bit more, get this train rolling early on. You know, last time it was +4/+4. They could certainly get there again.
Oh, never mind. I thought 𝗀𝗫 stayed in. I was about to say the reads are out of control, but okay, both players taking the same idea, buffing up the 𝗬𝗵𝗶 game plan as we saw from game number 1. So hey, 𝗧𝗵𝗃 buff number 1, 𝗧𝗵𝗃 buff number 1, and does 𝗲𝗺. It was supposed to be double damage into the 𝗧𝗵𝗃, but not doing so much into the 𝗧𝗵𝗃.
It still did more than a plague would have done, but I think it would have been a little bit nicer to see that target the other 𝗬𝗵𝗶, just do some damage that way. But now with the Lifeful Sap engaged, there's not too much that Tellaris can really do to 𝗬𝗵𝗃's 𝗬𝗵𝗶. You know, especially with these two Tems on the field, there's not going to be enough damage to outweigh this Lifeful Sap, the 60% that it will inevitably have returned to its HP. That damage just isn't on this field, isn't in the cards for Tellaris right now.
Yeah, and same goes both ways, as it is quite the mirror match on the board, and both of these Tamers have that nature synergy revitalize, even though it would be a little bit of an overheal per se. But alright, 𝗬𝗫𝗀 will be a good Temtem to take care of both of Tellaris Tems if it chooses to stay in, of course, but trapping in the 𝗬𝗵𝗶 for another 3 turns. And I don't think 𝗬𝗵𝗶 gets trapped, as it already has the trap stats condition, so 𝗬𝗵𝗶 able to swap out after this very next turn, and maybe something like a revitalized 𝗀𝗫 potentially. But that might leave the 𝗧𝗵𝗃 a little bit too susceptible to a toxic ink, unless he just doubles that 𝗬𝗵𝗶 spot. Because even if 𝗀𝗫 comes in, I don't believe we've seen the item on 𝗀𝗫, so we 100% know it's not chamomile. So toxic ticks could go a very long way. So 𝗬𝗵𝗃 maybe a little bit of the upper hand with the current board situation.
Tellaris could potentially go for the revitalized play. I think a revitalized plus sacrifice the following turn, it would put 𝗀𝗫 in a much better position. It would probably survive at least one more matter teleport. Although that does give Tellaris the difficulty of dealing with the mental 𝗂𝗀𝗆 afterwards, and that's a little bit complicated at the moment. Instead, 𝗬𝗏 swaps in as the hypnosis comes towards 𝗬𝗫𝗀, but energy drink. This 𝗬𝗫𝗀 is made for narco hits. He wants to stay awake for the whole thing, uses allergic spread, gets those toxic ticks on both spots, and does quite a bit of damage to 𝗬𝗏 in the process.
Yeah, I mean, respect to Tellaris, you had to go for it. That would have been a beautiful play to sleep the 𝗬𝗫𝗀, but yeah, prepare for just staying awake on those narco hits. And yeah, 𝗬𝗏 coming in now, taking the brute force from that allergic spread, 32% out the window following these next 2 turns. I mean, he has some feather gatling, but 𝗬𝗵𝗶's still trapped in. Enough stamina for a plague. This 𝗬𝗏 might have to be leaving as soon as it came. And there's not too much of an ideal swap out. Tellaris might be running out of options here. What can he do? We were anticipating that 𝗀𝗫 receiving the revitalize. Maybe that might be the most ideal here. Unless 𝗬𝗵𝗶 takes the revitalize for the nature synergy as well.
Well, now I'm a little bit worried after seeing the energy drink on 𝗬𝗫𝗀. That means there's another mental technique. So 𝗬𝗏 actually has 3 Tems that can throw out mentals into 𝗀𝗫. So potentially her revitalize isn't going to accomplish that much if he's just going to take a lot of damage from anybody.
Yeah, very true. You could just throw it in that direction. So plague 𝗬𝗫𝗀 narco hit to cover all your bases doesn't seem too bad. Yeah, connects quite well into the 𝗬𝗵𝗶, 𝗬𝗫𝗀, the 𝗂𝗏, and the 𝗀𝗫. So yeah, I agree with you, Rawrzyyy. That might be the most ideal line of play for 𝗬𝗏. I don't even know if there's too much Tellaris can do about it, as he either has to eat that with 𝗂𝗏, or, you know, one of the 3 other Temtems in the back line. I mean, maybe you just have to... I mean, 𝗬𝗫𝗀 does take some big damage from this 𝗂𝗏. Not a lot of 𝗂𝗏s running Tornado, however, so it does have to try to live that plague, go for Feather Gatling if it wants to stay in, and that's some good damage onto 𝗬𝗫𝗀 at the very least. But yeah, I think Tellaris looking in a bit of a tough spot. This 𝗬𝗫𝗀 𝗬𝗵𝗶 combo looking kind of good right now on 𝗬𝗏's current side.
Yeah, I think Tellaris came into this match thinking 𝗀𝗫 was going to be the counter for Kitsune, for 𝗬𝗏's 𝗬𝗵𝗶. and it's just not possible anymore. I think that there's too much pressure towards Yowler. I think that Matter Teleport did way more than 𝗬𝗺 was expecting it to. Because absolutely, 60% on turn 1 to a Yowler is incredible damage.
Yeah, huge, and that just goes to show you the power of that counter pick. Of course, 𝗬𝗺 being on the blue side, but oh, the sacrifice on the 2-rock. Trying to eat a Plague here. Let's see how much it's going to do. 65%. The Plague does come out. Oh, that's still some big damage, about 30%. So just 2 more attacks probably takes the 2-rock down, and it looks like 𝗬𝗺 tried to read the Yggdrasil staying in there, but does some decent damage on the Kinu nonetheless.
Yeah, 𝗬𝗺, I didn't know you were running Demoralize on this team. That was heartbreaking for 𝗬𝗺. The Yggdrasil swapping out, the Feather Gatling going into Kinu, that almost negates the sacrifices. Now a double in onto this 2-rock spot is going to be enough to kill. We just saw 30% from a Plague. I am confident that a Beta Burst can do the remaining 5% onto this 2-rock.
Yeah, despite having that +2 special defense, I will agree with you there. The Beta Burst should be more than enough for 5%. The only saving grace if it's 2-rock, which is naturally slower than a Kinu. Oh, or okay, well wait, Aquatic Whirlwind trying to most likely go into the 𝗬𝗵𝗶. Not doing all that much, a little bit over. Oh, okay, but wait a second. Might as well take the damage while the damage is able to be taken. 𝗬𝗺 going all the way down to 7%. And oh, Kinu does outspeed and does get to sleep the 2-rock. So a lot of control on the board. But I believe 𝗬𝗵𝗶 might have just had to overexert. I didn't catch it. Did you see it, Rawrzyyy?
Yeah, 𝗬𝗵𝗶 did OX for that Plague, so it's either got to leave or take some damage right now. I think 𝗬𝗺 probably only has Blizzard available to hurt this 𝗬𝗵𝗶, as otherwise we'd be looking at Wrath or Tsunami. You know, most likely, not a guarantee that Tsunami's being run on 𝗬𝗺, but it's possible, and definitely that wouldn't be doing any damage to a 𝗬𝗵𝗶. So I don't know. This is still a pretty difficult situation. I think 𝗬𝗺 really did a good job there, reading the situation, dealing damage to 𝗬𝗺, and just controlling that 2-rock spot.
Oh, and the Beta Burst almost enough, but the Blizzard does connect on the Kinu. Is it enough? It is not. So Kinu able to see another day and get off one more Protector proc before it's all said and done. Of course, it will die in the entry due to the new Protector change. Not too new. It was a change from before, but now 𝗬𝗵𝗶 coming back alive, does have Plague online, but so is Aquatic Whirlwind. So 𝗬𝗺 able to go down swinging, and that 𝗬𝗵𝗶 spot not feeling all that free. Aquatic Whirlwind into a Plague from 𝗬𝗺 might be doing a good number. The only Temtem that could really eat up all that damage, it would be Yggdrasil. So, wow, if 𝗬𝗺 goes for a sacrifice into Yggdrasil, that doesn't feel too bad. Yggdrasil looks like a really strong Tem into the remaining 𝗬𝗺 team. 2-rock doesn't want to see it. 𝗬𝗺 looking to go down after this turn. And then Yowler without a chamomile. Those toxic ticks will indeed start adding up.
Yeah, I think that that's a decent play for 𝗬𝗺. If +2/+2 is there for Yggdrasil, it's probably GG's, as even 𝗬𝗵𝗶 isn't able to take it down. And eventually the toxic ticks will bring 𝗬𝗺's 𝗬𝗵𝗶 to rest. We haven't seen 𝗬𝗺 use Lifeful Sap at all, so we have to assume, at least at this point, that he's not running that tech. Instead, probably using the Sandstorm. But I think that that's a kind of a risky play for 𝗬𝗺, going for the sacrifice, as potentially it's red, potentially, you know, 𝗬𝗵𝗶 is even faster on 𝗬𝗺's side, and Plague is able to bring Kinu down before the sacrifice comes. There are a lot of ifs in all of these situations, as you really can't read 𝗬𝗺 all that well. I think that in general, as a player, 𝗬𝗺 hasn't been in everybody's mind these last couple of months. He's definitely come out of nowhere, and at least in my eyes, and really shown a lot of people up, showing them that he's a contender because we don't know exactly how he thinks.
Yeah, exactly right. A lot of it is anticipation and be able to predict your opponent, and that comes with some experience with playing against each other. A perfect example is a lot of people like to play risky against 𝗬𝗵𝗆, because 𝗬𝗵𝗆 always likes to go more safer. But okay, the sacrifice instead of the Yggdrasil will be eaten up with this Cycrox. So nice, +2/+2 on the Cycrox. And hey, Cycrox able to take some good damage as well, or absorb some good damage as well from the 𝗧𝗫𝗀. So it's trapped in now. Yowler comes in scot-free. But now 𝗬𝗀𝗄𝗽𝗍 able to come in for another matter teleport. Oh man, 𝗬𝗵𝗵 such in the driver's seat right now. You know, the DV though online for 𝗬𝗵𝗵, so making 𝗬𝗵𝗵 consider it. Making 𝗬𝗵𝗵 consider not bringing it in. I mean, 𝗧𝗫𝗀 could look good, and there it goes. 𝗧𝗫𝗀 does come in. So double toxic Temtem on the side of 𝗬𝗵𝗵. And this is just such a strong board. I believe we saw Narco Hit not come on. So should be online right now, right?
Yeah, I believe so. We haven't seen the Narco Hit at all from 𝗧𝗫𝗀. So if that is the tech that's there with the energy drink, it's expected. You know, a Narco Hit onto Yowler would do quite a lot of damage, and a Wastewater onto 𝗬𝗵𝗵 as well with a toxic tick afterwards would be pretty detrimental for Tellaris in the next few turns. I mean, we're on turn 9 right now. Once we hit 12 or 13, 𝗬𝗵𝗵's going to need that HP. He does go for the bush, so if it is indeed the Wastewater hits the bush, Savage Suplex back onto the Cycrox, it's just not going to be enough. With no comebacker and without... with no comebacker and with the +2 on that defense, Cycrox eats it like a champion, and the Narco Hit on Yowler does so much damage.
Yeah, same can be said about this Yowler. Usually super bulky, but this 𝗧𝗫𝗀 and this 𝗬𝗀𝗄𝗽𝗍 is not making it seem so, you know, maybe just some good mentals missing in the current meta to really put Yowler down aside. So maybe Yowler can maybe stay the way he is once Arbery comes in, all that mental Temtems. Maybe Yowler doesn't feel as crazy as he does today, but we'll see. I mean, Yowler's still a big threat nonetheless, but from this position, Yowler looking to go down to anything currently. So a simple Wastewater or Toxic Ink, or even actually, I don't know if Spores kills the Yowler, but any of those other techniques looking to take Yowler down. And Tellaris running out of option to swap in. 𝗬𝗍𝗧 goes down to anything. So Tellaris wants to wait to come in for free, you know, with no damage. Or the Turok doesn't want to come in front of a 𝗧𝗫𝗀 with those nature techniques on top of the toxic. So, I think this is really, really rough position. Toxic Ink, as we said, more than enough to take Yowler down.
Oh man, in chat we just saw Matt Gia saying kill the bear, and 𝗬𝗵𝗵 says yes. Thank you for the advice. And it was good advice. Now the bear is gone. Yowler fall victim. Tellaris, not really many options anymore. I do like Turok. It gives you the Feather Gatling, and you do most likely outspeed. You know, Cycrox is a pretty slow Tem on its own. Turok is as well, but I think Turok is probably built a little bit speedier for these toxic Tems. Can at least do some damage before the allergic spread inevitably ends Turok's life.
Yeah, so the last saving grace might be Tellaris. 𝗬𝗵𝗵 here, buffed up a little bit, healthy. We didn't get to see a life full sat from him just yet, so possibly not running, as you mentioned earlier, more likely with that Sandstorm. So let's see if there's any glimmer of hope. Tellaris has to make a play here, but there's not. I mean, 𝗧𝗫𝗀 doesn't go down to one Feather Gatling, but okay, saving that Cycrox down the road. Coming in with the 𝗬𝗵𝗵 of his own is what 𝗬𝗵𝗵 has in mind, but the allergic spread doesn't hit Team Elusive, but does connect to Turok enough where the 3 toxic ticks guaranteed to bring it down. And 𝗬𝗵𝗵 eating it quite well there with that DV.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too well for Tellaris's liking. This is still such a long mountain to climb. The plague onto 𝗬𝗵𝗵 does so much damage. We've just been seeing just unnecessary amounts of damage onto 𝗬𝗵𝗵 this entire time. Even with all of these buffs, I mean, plague, one goes down, the other hurts itself quite a bit. And the Toxic Ink means both 𝗬𝗵𝗵s go down this turn.
Yeah, and I believe with 𝗬𝗵𝗵 going down, we just mentioned that's the last hope, because the mental has to receive a Dust Vortex in the back line. Unless the 𝗬𝗍𝗧, since water, I believe, is resistant to water, can maybe do a little thing. But with 𝗧𝗫𝗀 still kick in, with Cycrox +2/+2 kick in, that's 𝗬𝗍𝗧 with the little hair of HP remaining. That will be GG, Mr. 𝗬𝗵𝗵 pulling off a bit of an underdog story here, taking down the #1 seed 𝗬𝗺. But hey, I don't want to take away anything from 𝗬𝗺. It was still an incredible run.
I don't know how you would pronounce that then. If the W's beforehand, it's not Chuan,
yeah.
Wouldn't it be Huan at that point?
No, right? Because wait, WHAN would be like Juan, right? So Swan. Hey, let's just let it be. 𝗬𝗵𝗵 is his name. We all know him very well. So 𝗬𝗵𝗵 is the immediate ban after all those stally matchups these guys had. Let's see if 𝗬𝗵𝗵 wants to reciprocate the favor. Just a good gentleman's 𝗬𝗵𝗵 ban. Let's see. Unless there was a bigger threat. Of course, 𝗬𝗨 is quite formidable. 𝗧𝗵𝗵 always a bit crazy as well, but I think this is a 𝗬𝗵𝗵 for 𝗬𝗵𝗵 here, unless the
𝗬𝗵𝗵 for 𝗬𝗵𝗵 is definitely a good ban. I think 𝗬𝗵𝗵 losing the 𝗬𝗵𝗵, and oh, he does allow 𝗬𝗵𝗵 to come through. If 𝗬𝗵𝗵 wants to bring this through, that's going to be a pretty big advantage if this game goes the way of stall. Reaching turn 30 with a 𝗬𝗵𝗵 is much easier than reaching turn 30 without a 𝗬𝗵𝗵.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, I'm impressed that 𝗏𝗠𝗀 caught the ban because he does have double electric in that back line. However, I definitely understand some good reasoning. 𝗬𝗨 takes double damage from those mentals. 𝗬𝗏 taking the double damage. 𝗬𝗨 double damage. And then just Air Specialist packs such a punch. 𝗬𝗏𝗵 probably goes down to a Windburst Tornado, honestly. So, hey, it looks like 𝗬𝗵𝗵 felt the force of a 𝗏𝗠𝗀 throughout this set. So, respecting it. But that does leave, as you said, the 𝗬𝗵𝗵 available to 𝗬𝗵𝗵. And these guys have a similar game plan. They like to go a little bit later game. Most games right now in the current meta ending around that turn 10 deadline, if you will. But the 𝗬𝗵𝗵 buffs and these guys, the stallier versions of these teams, we saw it in the Swiss. They went all the way to round 30. I don't think we're getting there today, especially because 𝗬𝗵𝗵 doesn't have a 𝗬𝗵𝗵 to work with on his own. Maybe if 𝗬𝗵𝗵 has something to say about it on his side, we'll see.
Yeah, I think if 𝗬𝗵𝗵 doesn't bring 𝗬𝗵𝗵, it will 99% of the time be this ban. I think that it just brings a little bit too much value to let it through. I'm still kind of surprised. I mean, 𝗏𝗠𝗀, it definitely counters quite a few Tems on 𝗬𝗵𝗵's side, but he does have 2 electric Tems as well, and a Naga to flip the script and turn that new speed buff that 𝗏𝗠𝗀 got with Cipanku into a negative. So it's... I don't know. It's a difficult game to play, and since we didn't see anything in game 1 and missed most of game 2, 𝗬𝗵𝗵 knows best.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Putting the fear into that 𝗬𝗵𝗵's eyes there, it was all from that new technique. 𝗧𝗏 wouldn't really have anything to do against the 𝗬𝗵𝗵 except like a P-jab to prepare for second turn. But now that wastewater is a new technique for 𝗧𝗏, 𝗬𝗵𝗵 doesn't feel all that comfortable as a starting lineup. Even though it's effective into the 𝗬𝗨, into the 𝗧𝗏, it looks like 𝗬𝗵𝗵, been in the shoes before, rather picks up the 𝗧𝗏 and maybe starts a little P-jab of his own. So, I mean, P-jab, Toxic Ink perhaps looking good for 𝗬𝗵𝗵, and then P-jab perhaps just a good show-off to get things started for the side of 𝗬𝗵𝗵. But 𝗧𝗏, it was already a good Temtem before, looking a whole lot better with the recent changes.
Yeah, we see the 𝗬𝗏𝗵 get picked up, as well as this 𝗬𝗏𝗄 probably coming through. I think that the more Earth, the better. Especially, potential Inductor Earth. Taking a bit of a heal from electric techniques is always nice. Ragnet, 𝗬𝗨, Naga, the teams are finished. And game 3 about to commence. 𝗬𝗵𝗵 versus 𝗬𝗵𝗵. Trying to find their way into the semifinals.
Yeah, exactly right. Game 3, 1 player moving forward. And I'm impressed that Naga's got picked up. Of course, it was for the other Tems, but 𝗏𝗏𝗄, such a strong Temtem into Naga's. He does have Electric Custodian with that Ragnet. So, it does have some answers for those electric attacks if it goes in that direction. But 𝗏𝗏𝗄 alone, we all know 4x damage onto that water mental Temtem goes all the way down if left unchecked. But let's hop into that very opening turn. As we said before, it looks like P-jabs might be flying out. Wastewater won't be accomplishing anything here. So who does 𝗬𝗵𝗶 want to gun down here? Oh, forget the P-jabs. We're going with the tenderness. All right, that's a good effective way to deal with the Yowler.
Yeah, P-jab instead from 𝗏𝗃 on the Yggdrasil, and just a little bit of damage with a Toxic Ink, as 𝗬𝗵𝗶 means there won't be any Toxic Ticks. The show off, it has synergy, but 𝗬𝗵𝗶 means it won't be Vigorized. So Yowler negating a negative and negating a positive this turn with its gear.
Yeah, a little bit of a double-edged sword. I believe I've done that in the past too. I was like, oh yes, I got melee synergy, and then I have a 𝗬𝗵𝗶. So it doesn't end up working. But either way, the more important part, oh, actually, of course, the tenderness does negate that +1 attack on the Yowler. So hey, it's better than having -1 attack that the tenderness was supposed to do on the 𝗬𝗵𝗶 side, on 𝗬𝗵𝗶's Yowler. So it's just back to neutral. So this is the name of the game. Who's gonna stop tenderness? Who's gonna stop show off? But no, going with the P-jab this run.
Yeah, the P-jab into a narco hit is definitely a dangerous technique if that's what we're about to see. But another P-jab on an Yggdrasil followed by a Savage Suplex. Oh, Yggdrasil just barely hanging on. 14% HP already. And the narco hit not able to do nearly as much damage back. Although it goes to sleep, it takes a rest, potentially looking at... No, it's a double screen on 𝗏𝗃. Hopefully we'll see a pillow on Yggdrasil. Hopefully there's a little bit of HP restoration in Yggdrasil's future.
Yeah, I believe that would be the idea behind just letting it go to sleep. So I think I'm recalling from the Swiss rounds, it might very well be a pillow on it. But yeah, this 𝗵𝗃 holding on from so much, even at -1 defense. Of course, parrier going a long way, double screen going a long way, so still nice and healthy, able to get off some more P-jabs. And now it looks like 𝗬𝗵𝗶 prioritizing the 𝗵𝗃 spot, potentially a little P-jab in that direction. 𝗬𝗵𝗶 does have to be careful. Another tenderness feels bad, but you know, with 𝗬𝗵𝗶, you could just swap in and out and erase all those debuffs anyway, so maybe he's not sweating too bad considering that. So we'll see. What can 𝗂𝗍 do this turn? Potential other P-jab could go a long way on that 𝗵𝗃. Because other than that Yggdrasil narco hit, maybe Yowler will be able to do the most damage. So it was a pillow. But 𝗬𝗵𝗶 swapping out his 𝗵𝗃 and in for the Nagas. That is bold into double toxic Temps here.
Yeah, into double toxic, but the tenderness on the Yowler was just a little bit too enticing. And 𝗬𝗏𝗽𝗓, even from -1, will be enough to bring Yggdrasil down. This might give 𝗂𝗍 a bit of an edge. I mean, down with Yggdrasil, now the only toxic technique would be the wastewater on 𝗵𝗃, and Ragnit could always swap in so that 𝗵𝗃r's not able to fight back. This is a pretty complicated situation. There's always... 𝗬𝗵𝗶 could do something really malicious here. I think swapping out Naga for Ragnit and just going for some damage onto 𝗵𝗃r. 𝗬𝗃 was just used, so it wouldn't be an 𝗬𝗃.
Yeah, that would have been too bad. I like what you're saying here. But yeah, Yowler running out of stamina here, so obviously more ideal if the Ragnit came in on that side. But hey, maybe no one really wants to eat a wastewater, so Nagas could back out. I mean, the only thing that seems good is that 𝗵𝗃 one more time. But I kind of like what you said too, just to be able to protect the Yowler from taking big damage. I'm just worried about his stamina here. I know he wants to get a big 𝗬𝗏𝗍 the following turn. So maybe you're just forced to rest here perhaps, just to get that online. You have plenty stamina to work with. So yeah, maybe what you said, Ragnit to try to absorb the damage, rest on the Yowler, get 𝗬𝗏𝗍 online. That could be a good potential line to play for 𝗬𝗵𝗏-chan. Let's see what goes down. It looks like these Tamers clicked it, but no, the Yowler running out of stamina does come in for the Ragnit instead. I'm wondering, I don't think he's going to go for a madness buff, but one proud double edge does go first on that 𝗵𝗃.
Yeah, followed by the Fury as well, so 𝗵𝗃r is a little bit afraid, but 𝗵𝗃 is feeling pretty happy this turn, which means the wastewater is free to do 50%. A reactive vial. It means Naga heals a little bit before the toxic tick, and now wastewater will not be doing that much damage.
Yeah, as well as that Thunder electric techniques, if electric custodian isn't online, but most likely is, as it is paired with this Nagai's here. So yeah, that's a good, I mean, we've been seeing it time and time again since the new patch dropped. Reactive out on Nagai's feels so good, especially considering a lot of electrics in the meta, especially a good amount of toxics in the meta as well. So able to nullify from those barrages. So does have a strong 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶 beta burst. So 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶 swapping out to the 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶, potentially trying to eat those attacks. Let's see.
Oh, we have 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶 coming in just in time to take a Stonewall. Means that the Psy Surge is not going to be very damaging at all, from pure 100% down to 78. The Electro Punch as well, not going to do anything. 74. The burn is the most damage that 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶's taking that turn. That was an incredible play from 𝗬𝗵𝗃.
Yeah, and it's something a lot of people don't consider. Inductor works when any electric attack gets thrown out. So with that electric attack from Ragnet, 𝗬𝗫𝗄 just recovered some HP, if you guys noticed. So 𝗬𝗫𝗄 liking Ragnet right now. They're kind of teaming up. Not literally, but hey, not too bad. Inductor recovering some HP on that 𝗬𝗫𝗄. And now 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶. It's still some good damage. Does Vortex is online to do double effective damage onto Ragnet, or you could just throw it on Nagai's direction. It's not going to be enough to take it down, but little by little it will. And man, does 𝗧𝗵𝗆𝗺 want to read the DV here? Because if he does DV and Ragnet stays in, then of course he can't Thunderstrike. But if Ragnet comes out expecting the DV, swapping into something like 𝗂𝗶𝗆𝗺, then what if 𝗬𝗫𝗄 just goes for the Thunderstrike there? This is an interesting play, interesting turn rather.
Yeah, Naga does still have one more turn of nullification, so a Thunderstrike specifically might not be the end of days. Naga might have enough HP to survive the neutral damage, but I mean, why not just double in onto the Ragnet spot? I don't necessarily see a downside in that. You're going to do quite a lot of damage, even if it's a swap into 𝗂𝗶𝗆𝗺. Even, you know, 𝗫𝗏𝗏 and Yowler don't love taking electric attacks either.
Yeah.
I think that maybe ignoring Naga for the turn, as really it can't kill 𝗬𝗵𝗃 right away. It might give him a little bit of progress towards, you know, some turn 10 knockouts potentially.
Yeah, very true. And you know, with the Sea Aura still being online, we saw how much damage the Nagai's Fury did on 𝗬𝗫𝗄, but oh, alright, so trying to expect perhaps it does Vortex, does swap into this Yowler. Let's see what 𝗬𝗵𝗃 did. As you said, it is nullified, but the double edge, 𝗬𝗫𝗄's a pseudo Kinu in this situation. I think taking a page out of 𝗧𝗵𝗆𝗺's book. Usually using 𝗬𝗫𝗄 as a pseudo Kinu, and that's 2 buffs, +1/+1 buffs, just like Kinu would have been added, but you know, not too much damage for those, so not too bad. And now Naga is back without having any nullification, so a Thunderstrike of course brings it down. But something's telling me Naga is heading out of here, out of stamina, almost out of HP. Something like that Ragnet or the Mushroom might be coming in. And with that Yowler coming in last turn, 𝗏𝗏𝗃 is online, so the 𝗬𝗏𝗃 and the 𝗬𝗫𝗄 aren't necessarily safe whatsoever.
Yeah, it was potentially a little bit too risky not to throw damage down on that side. I definitely like buffing up 𝗬𝗏𝗃. I think that +3/+2 is fantastic right now. I think that Lifeful Sap is fantastic as well, but he needs to deal with this Yowler somehow, some way. 𝗏𝗏𝗃 does come in, so that means Naga is safe and protected, and 𝗬𝗵𝗃 just has to retreat. 𝗬𝗫𝗄 for 𝗧𝗏, praying that that's where that Oshidashi is going, as Parrier and Melee doesn't mind one bit the plague. 𝗬𝗏𝗃 decides to stay in, potentially take the damage and try to walk away later. But the show off on Yowler taking advantage. 𝗧𝗵𝗆𝗺 says you don't have any tenderness on the field. Well, now he does. But at the time, there was no tenderness on the field. Just take advantage. Get that +1 while you can.
Yeah, not too bad. Of course, it could be down, but that means if he goes for tenderness, he's not doing damage. So that's not too bad. Yowler now at 50% increase on his heavy attacks already. Let's see, what can absorb a Oshidashi, you know, with 𝗏𝗃 already on the board? This might spell doom for the side of 𝗬𝗵𝗶. 𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗶𝗴 rather free. Huge connection onto 𝗬𝗵𝗆. I mean, it's at +3 defense, so maybe not that huge, but obviously taking down the Grumper, and then just some big neutral damage onto the Yowler in that back line. And I'm not seeing a way 𝗬𝗵𝗆 can really punish this Yowler from coming in. Maybe tenderness, but that just brings it back down to normal. So 𝗬𝗵𝗆 comes in, and it is the Yowler. I was thinking maybe he could sacrifice the Grumper, but with the Nagai still in the back line, he definitely needs that Grumper.
Yeah, tenderness onto Yowler, so back down to neutral damage. Perfect jab on the Mashuk. Definitely a nice way to start things off. Try and negate parrier just a little bit. His Savage Suplex as well targets Mashuk from 78 down to 42. And that was without comebacker. Or no, I'm sorry, it was with comebacker. There was a tenderness.
Yeah, but it was still big. I mean, we saw how much damage the 𝗬𝗵𝗆chan's Mashuk took. That was a little bit more for sure. So damage is damage. And yeah, Mashuk just such an effective Temtem all around. I don't blame 𝗬𝗵𝗆 prioritizing, you know, anticipating a swap out on that 𝗬𝗵𝗆 side. So just going big, P-jab, Savage Suplex. Now I believe another P-jab, but whoa, I believe 𝗬𝗵𝗆 might be doing the exact same team. Let's take a look. So P-jab on the other Mashuk. And wait, there's a little deja vu here.
I don't know though, the P-jab on the Mashuk now on 𝗬𝗵𝗆's side, if it's followed up, yeah, Yowler's just going for his show off. If it were to be followed up with an Oshi, it wouldn't do any damage at all. But the Savage Suplex coming from 𝗬𝗵𝗆, a little bit slower this time, but it's enough. Boxroom falls down. Parrier is not protecting you today, my friend. Yowler comes out victorious, as it tends to do.
Yeah, that was pretty big for the side of 𝗬𝗵𝗆. Now, 2 Temtems down, 1 apiece for each of these Tamers. And Mashuk was a good Temtem to absorb those plagues. Absorb a lot of damage, that double screen parry as we mentioned before. But I'm impressed. The Yowler on 𝗬𝗵𝗆's side, even without a show off, more than enough to take it down. Of course, that -1 defense going a long way. But that was a big kill. Big kill indeed for 𝗬𝗵𝗆's side. Doesn't have to worry about any more P-jabs down the road. So there we go. We got a game on our hands. Yowler at +1 attack. And Nagai still has some Deceit Aura on deck. I believe 1 more turn. Potentially 2. I can't recall exactly, but I think just a final turn of Deceit Aura. So we'll see. Looking to do some big damage. Mashuk probably goes down with 1 hit. I say that, but it has +1 special defense, and there is no madness buff on Nagai's, so maybe it could hold.
Yeah, we saw quite a lot of damage. I think about 50%, maybe a little bit more previously, so it might still be enough, but Wastewater goes first. No side surges today as Naga falls victim. The Savage Suplex means Mashuk is also going down, so it is a clean trade for 𝗬𝗵𝗆. 2 Tems for 2 Tems on each side. But 𝗬𝗵𝗆 comes back out. He's not thrilled though. Still, there's an Oshi-Dashi Yowler with +1 attack staring him down, and 𝗬𝗵𝗆 lost any tenderness. That +1 is here to stay for as long as Yowler stays, as of course 𝗬𝗵𝗆 will wipe it out if he leaves and comes back.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like I miscounted there. It was no turns of the Deceit Aura remaining. And now, hey, a good Temtem to deal with both of these, as 𝗬𝗵𝗆 doesn't have chamomile. 𝗬𝗵𝗆 doesn't really like to eat too many toxic ticks. Considering how bulky he is, toxic ticks will be going a long way. So as you mentioned before, Oshi-Dashi online, but he's running out of stamina. I'm not too sure if he wants to overexert quite big. It looks like 𝗬𝗵𝗆 does not. So retreating for that Ragnet in the back. Does 𝗬𝗵𝗆 read this with something like a... Oh, no, he does not. I was worried for 𝗬𝗵𝗆 if that was a big Does Vortex, but the Plague, just to try to overexert the Yowler that much more. But 𝗬𝗵𝗆 one step ahead in that turn.
Yeah, the Plague not doing too much. The show off on Yowler, a nice setup for the future. But in the meantime, it means he takes 30% damage with a promise of 12.5 more with this Toxic Tick. Definitely Yowler, I mean, he's +1 attack now, and he's not staring down another Yowler. We know that 𝗬𝗵𝗆 was slightly faster earlier, I think. I believe it when it was Mashuk and Yowler. So no DA on the field. It was 𝗬𝗵𝗆's 𝗬𝗨 going first. So potentially 𝗬𝗵𝗆 able to get some damage done somewhere, but no, retreats instead. Thinks that 𝗬𝗵𝗆 is a little bit better right now. Try to get some inductor healing, as now Ragnet is pretty much nullified.
And inductor healing he will, so Piezo Electric Bow healing up more damage than it actually took, being 1/4, but the Dust Vortex, huge double damage, bringing down the Ragnet all the way down. Impressive stuff on this 𝗬𝗵𝗆. The Strangle, quite nice to protect them from bigger attacks down the road, but this is getting close, neck and neck. 𝗬𝗵𝗆chan with the final 2 Temtems remaining. But these are 2 Temtems you don't mind being the final 2. 𝗬𝗵𝗆, as we saw, did get strangled, so 𝗧𝗲𝗺𝗍𝗺, and man, how did 𝗬𝗨 recover all that stamina in 1 turn? I'm impressed.
Yeah, it feels like he wasn't gone long enough to make that happen, but I mean, coming back in, that means he does not have that +1 attack anymore, compared to 𝗬𝗵𝗆's does have got the +1 attack back.
Yeah, nice and easy. 𝗬𝗵𝗆 having to rest. Of course, the 𝗬𝗨 having to rest from that strangle. But now it's just 𝗬𝗨 v 𝗬𝗨, but 𝗬𝗵𝗆's a bit less healthy at 58.4%. I think a Toxic Ink plus a Savage Suplex, looking to take down anything on that side. Savage Suplex takes down the 𝗬𝗵𝗆. I mean, it's a sacrificial 𝗬𝗵𝗆 at this point. You wanted to save it for some electric techniques, Thunder Strike onto the Octopus, but you can't let your 𝗬𝗨 go too long. But I mean, at the same time, he should have enough to do it again. So we'll see. We'll see what goes down. I think 𝗬𝗵𝗆 with the final Temtems might have an advantage in this endgame.
Yeah, Savage Suplex brings 𝗬𝗵𝗆 down. Definitely the sacrificial ugly-tem. The Water Jet onto 𝗬𝗵𝗆 not doing nearly enough damage, as it does have all of those buffs from 𝗬𝗵𝗆 earlier. So despite its looks, it does bring a lot of value with those double edges.
Hey, bro, he's beautiful. He's beautiful in people's hearts, guys.
But now, potentially a slight advantage for 𝗬𝗵𝗆 if the speeds do work out that way. If 𝗬𝗵𝗆's 𝗬𝗨 is able to survive an attack, Comebacker might be enough to bring 𝗬𝗵𝗆's 𝗬𝗨 to its knees.
Yeah, very true. I'm wondering if he tries to throw the 𝗧𝗲𝗺𝗍𝗺 just for the bigger damage, as it is double damage on the 𝗬𝗵𝗆. But I agree with you. I think 𝗬𝗨 is threat number 1. And 𝗧𝗲𝗺𝗍𝗺 does the same. Actually, you don't get stabbed on 𝗧𝗲𝗺𝗍𝗺, so a little bit less on the 𝗬𝗵𝗆 𝗬𝗨. But Toxic Ink, 𝗧𝗲𝗺𝗍𝗺 might be enough to take the 𝗬𝗨 down. However, as you said, well, maybe the speeds counteract, only because if it goes down before it's able to attack, then there's not going to be any comebacker to do so. 58.4, can he hold on? I think it's going to be close, but he should be able to live both of those attacks.
It's definitely asking for a lot from a +1 𝗬𝗨. I think the +1 is a little bit more terrifying than we sometimes give it credit for. You know, just a +1, maybe a +2 sometimes. It's enough to do so much damage to a Naga when you're using Savage Suplex. I know that he loses stab with this Oshi, but I still think that 𝗬𝗵𝗆 is going to do a lot of damage. It's going to be pretty close for 𝗬𝗵𝗆. And I think that 𝗬𝗵𝗆 needs 𝗬𝗨 to survive this turn and attack 𝗬𝗵𝗆's 𝗬𝗨 if he wants to find victory. I think in the end, 𝗬𝗵𝗆 could potentially make it work against the Flying Octopus just due to the lower stamina. I think that Plague Spam would be enough to make it happen, you know, even with the Strangles and potential Toxic Ticks. But if 𝗬𝗨 is allowed to survive the 𝗧𝗲𝗺𝗍𝗺 onto 𝗬𝗵𝗆, the +3 defense is just not going to be enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I believe just that plague pressure should be more than enough to 1v1 that 𝗬𝗨. So we'll see. I mean, running out of time. Show off number 2. I am impressed. Okay, saving Savage Suplex. But here we go. 85 point. All right, taking about halfway there. And is this going to be a strangle? Yes, it is. So nice play for 𝗬𝗵𝗆. He took a whole lot of damage, but now at +2 attack, it's 100% looking to take down the 𝗬𝗨. I mean, 𝗬𝗨 v 𝗬𝗨, it did about 40%. 𝗬𝗵𝗆's 𝗬𝗨 was at that 80+% mark. So, you know, at +2 attack, hitting for double damage, 100% increase. I'm pretty certain the Savage Suplex should take it down. The question is, does he overexert? And oh man, I'm seeing it in the chat here. Wait a minute, 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴. There's only one turn left of Chamomile here. There's only one thing to do. Man, 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 is such a bright tamer. I think that's the only option for sure.
I think because of the speed, he's safe to do so. I think that a hibernate on this turn. Oh no, he just goes for the Savage Suplex. That's still fine. Killing the Yowler on Kami's side is incredible. It looks like it was with an overexertion, which means 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴. Oh, 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 takes a rest. If 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 had attacked, potentially would have been able to bring Yowler down this turn. But I think it's still okay. 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 is definitely the faster Tem. So it should be able to get the job done still. Strangle is really going to be the difficulty for these next couple of turns.
You know, Kami's 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 had so much stamina to work with. I'm wondering what that rest was about. Did he just expect the hyper... Yeah, he had so much stamina to work with. I'm wondering what that... Okay, saving the stamina for the DV. So down almost goes the Yowler, as you mentioned. Most likely one more Plague takes it down. And man, this is such a close matchup. You know, 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴, if Kami has Lifeful Sap, I think Kami just won this game. Yowler goes down to a single Plague in this position. 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 doesn't overexert. 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗴 has to overexert to do anything here. So here it goes. Plague does bring down the Yowler. Oh, this is so close.
Yeah, I almost wonder if that had to be the Strangle so that 𝗬𝗍𝗍 could come through for the following turn. But in the end, it's now down to 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 versus 𝗬𝗵𝗶. The Toxic Ink, it does about 10% on its own. And 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 forced to rest means it's down to 28%. We know that Kami does have Lifeful Sap available, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do the damage. The only saving grace right now for Kami is 𝗬𝗵𝗍𝗍 is also out of stamina.
Exactly right. Imagine he goes for a Plague to really overexert, but I think a Bush here is kind of safe. You nullify. Okay, Lifeful Sap looking good as well. So 70% increase if he's able to get there. Oh, this is so close. Okay, 26.1%. One Toxic Ink should be enough, but maybe he wanted to... Yeah, actually, this was perfect. Oh, but wait a second. The Bush did not fly out, but he survives. Wow, I think 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 might have just turned things around. 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗴, did he overexert that turn? If he did, this is looking really good for the 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴.
I think that might have been a perfect play, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't think that he attacks this turn knowing that the Plague is coming. So even if he did not overexert... No, he does! Oh! Water Jet! It's enough to bring 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 down to the Toxic Tick, and he doesn't die in the process. So 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴 taking the victory in the longest quarterfinals match today.
Yeah, very true, 𝗬𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗴. Brilliant stuff as always.